This year on the podcast, we talk about trust. And today we are going to talk about this dance between trust and betrayal with my beautiful guest, Jenny Kierstead. Jenny is the founder of the national award-winning Breathing Space Yoga Studio and Yoga in Schools. She is a visionary in the yoga movement and an advocate for mind-body well-being. Over the past 25 years, Jenny has received various accolades for her trailblazing career, like the prestigious Women of Excellence and RBC Women of Influence Awards. Her most cherished achievement, however, is seeing her clients' lives blossom with health and happiness. She's also a columnist, a public speaker, a published author. Jenny has written 10 school yoga and mindfulness programs, and the Revolutionary Yoga Grade 11 program is being taught in schools across North America. Jenny, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Anne.
Well, we've known each other for a long time, Jenny, and our paths kind of cross, whether it's at the, at the gym with our daughters or through friends, through the yoga community. I think I met you through Terry Choice, actually. I remember her saying, you have to know this woman, Jenny, and I think that was back in 2007 or 2008, a long time ago. So your path when it comes to trust has taken you many places. And would you say that it's kind of a big propeller or a driver of why you found yourself in the yoga community and as a yoga teacher and a teacher of teachers of yoga? Would you say that this journey really led you there, this journey of trust?
Gosh, I have a great story. But before I share this story, I'm just wondering, and we can cut this out if we want to, but can we just take a moment to ground? And if I may, today is a big day for me. It's April 18th, and it is the 5-year anniversary of the loss of my sister, who was killed in the mass casualty. It was the largest modern Canadian mass shooting. And so today is the 5-year mark for that. And so I find myself really kind of nervous and excited. I'm anxious because I have a few anxiety disorders thanks to this event and complex PTSD. And so I share that for myself and for my own nervous system, because for so long I was trying to just ignore it and hide it. And that didn't work out. And so I just want to be upfront with myself to foster trust with my nervous system, and also to share with our listeners that we can have all these things and still show up. And I had time just this morning to fill out the form for this podcast. And the one question that came to me that I wanted you to ask me about was perfectionism. And then I was rushing around getting the, cord to my computer. And didn't my sacred latte spill all over my shirt?
Oh.
Right? And I was like, there it is, perfectionism. And so, yeah, so I just come to you totally messy today and
Oh
imperfect
my
with
gosh.
latte
Oh,
on
I
my
love you so
breast.
much.
And just, my nerves feel raw, but I don't know. And for the first time in my life, it's like I'm just giving myself permission to just be where and how I need to be right now. And as I was thinking about our time together, there's so much that came up in the last month, but I I energetically entered connection with you, and I just felt so grounded by your friendship and your essence. And you are just such a special person. And when you laid out a number of dates, the first one that jumped out was April 18th. I wanted to do this with you. And so it's a scary day. It's an eerie day. It's a painful day. And because you are who you are, I feel safe to be here. So thank you for doing the work that you do and doing the work to be who you are, because it just allows those of us who are scared to show up in this way. But what I wanted to do to start is I'm going to bring my feet to the floor, and I'm just going to take a moment, because what I find with this PTSD journey and post traumatic growth is an awareness that I want to crawl out of my body, like just come up into my head, into my mind. And as students of embodiment, I know you know that we can't live that way. So I just want to take a moment to ground myself in my nervous system and just reassure myself that I'm here with you, that I'm safe, that my feet are resting on Mi'kma'ki. And I acknowledge that we're residing here on Mi'kma'ki. And I give thanks to my Mi'kmaq friends who have been through so much loss and grief and devastation. And they know this feeling. And so I welcome them into this conversation. And I just give thanks to the strength that they have given me over the years. So I'm trying to connect with my breath. My breath wants to stay up in my chest. Any thoughts, Anne, on helping to drop my breath into my belly? Right.
I
Know
love
that I
using the
operate.
symbol of the white feather and imagining the white feather floating down the core of my being. And as I'm following it with my attention, my breath is on the feather and it goes all the way down through the core of my being until it finds a resting place at the base of my spine. And then I use the white feather as an anchor for my attention and my breath deep down at the base of my spine or in the front of my belly. And I make sure that my belly is really soft. It's hanging like a Buddha belly. so that my nervous system knows that I'm safe. And I also keep my spine nice and strong so I can also be strong in the sensitivity and the openness.
There it is. There it is. I just felt my breath expand my belly. Beautiful. That image was so powerful and so effortless. Yeah, I find um, that that I try to force it, like to force relaxation. And the white feather is so effortless
And
and
we can
beautiful.
stay
Thank you.
there for the rest of the conversation because there's nowhere else where the good stuff is anyway. It's really deep in our bellies and the presence in our
Wow.
bodies where the real, authentic, wise energy and information is anyway. We don't need our intellect right now. Hmm.
Yes. Love
I
it.
just I just want to say, as we keep our
Ah,
attention deep inside our soft belly, that I am incredibly honored and I feel privileged that you chose to talk to me today on this very special day. As you said, it's complex
yes.
and messy, and it
And
includes a lot of
messy.
love and it includes a lot of pain and confusion.
Yeah.
And so for you to be
Yeah.
vulnerable and present with the confusion today is really meaningful. I feel your the power of that truth coming from you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's it's not where I'm most comfortable, right? I'm most comfortable with it all together and being the leader to my people and holding space for their brokenness. And so, yeah, it's just, it feels really important for my soul's journey to show up with my brokenness and to teach and share
I
from
think
that
it's
place.
brilliant, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering how your body is communicating differently to you now that this journey of trust has shifted. Um, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I am, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from my perspective, would feel like a betrayal from life, from the universe almost, right? This massive betrayal and so your body would have shifted in as the knower of truth. I'm just curious about how that feels to
Yeah.
you right now.
What's what's coming up for me is just how instinctively wise our body is and our nervous system. And that protective uh dissociative pattern that can happen, that did happen, and how, well, I guess it was tomorrow, 5 years ago, when I got the news, and how, like, I left my body and I was watching myself navigate this unbelievable news, and how by me witnessing, I was able to just let my body do what it needed to do. So, I spent the day on my yoga mat, just like in fetal position, rolling around, crying, and just in shock. And then drinking. I was so thirsty. And then we'd come together, the four of us, and we would shake and tremble and embrace together and cry and weep. And we had practiced as a family because 2 years prior, we'd lost my brother to an aggressive form of cancer. And so within 3 months, he went from being vibrantly alive to gone. And he was just 47. So my nervous system, my window of tolerance was low. It was fractured. And I said to Blair, like days before this happened, like, I'm just praying. I'm praying that nothing happens to my parents right now because I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not back to myself yet. So my system was already compromised. And I share that because for so many years, I berated myself, as a leader in body mind healing. I should be navigating this better. And it's been part of my journey to practice self-compassion and just do what I had to do to get through. And I didn't, the tools weren't working, and it was too big. It was too big for a mindfulness practice. For the first 2 months after I got the news of my sister, I had chronic hiccups, which is so fascinating because my diaphragm went into spasm and I couldn't breathe. It was physiological. I knew how to breathe, but I couldn't. And so I had these chronic hiccups, which is so interesting, isn't it? And that was part of my shock. And yeah, and gradually I started dropping my breath, but my nervous system was just so shattered that it literally took 4 years of a downward spiral for me to acknowledge that I wasn't able to do it. Like, I couldn't fight this beast. I was doing all the things. I was like waking up and doing a half an hour of breathing and yoga and mindfulness, but I wasn't able to practice because my nervous system was so dysregulated. So I share that because the true healing started last October when I started on anti-anxiety meds.
Yeah.
Right? I went to visit a psychiatrist friend who went through our yoga teacher training program years ago, and I went to him completely broken. And he was like, Jenny, it doesn't have to be this way. And for the first time, I trusted pharmaceuticals. So as Glennon Doyle was going off her anti-anxiety meds, I was taking the leap and I was like, I got to do this. And it changed my life. Yeah. And so I share that because, like, I'm au naturel. Like, both my pregnancies were without pain meds, which was so dumb. in hindsight, right? Like I was induced with Bella. Why didn't I take any pain meds? Because I had to be a freaking hero. So, yeah, this journey has been a leap into trusting that I don't always have the answers, that the journey requires surrender to forces and supports I that I otherwise wouldn't have trusted before.
Absolutely. I'm so
Does that
glad
make
that you
sense?
shared that because I know that a lot of listeners will relate to coming to this impasse and saying, I've tried all that I know. I've tried all my tools. I need help. And then
Yeah.
hitting that shame
Yeah.
around getting help that maybe in the past
Yeah.
you would have not, like you said, like you would not have wanted to go that route, and giving yourself permission to receive the help that you need to be well is so powerful for women to hear that. So I'm really
Yes.
glad that you share that, Jenny. It's not a failure, it's actually an act of self-love.
Yes, to receive the help that I
Mm.
needed. And and part of that journey was, pivoting my mental health care. I was seeing a psychologist who was really great and compassionate, but what I really needed, I needed a diagnosis. Like I needed someone to say to assess
Yeah.
the shit that was going on for me and say, Jenny, you have a number of clinical
Mm.
mental health issues. And this is how we're going to treat it. We're going to treat it with these medications. We're going to watch out for things like Ativan because they're addictive. So I just continued on with Cipralex and used my natural healing modalities of
Love L-theanine
L-theanine
and GABA.
and GABA,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And and that medical pharmaceutical support actually helped me to practice. I wasn't able to practice. My nervous system was so
So
dysregulated.
you had
So,
gone into
yeah, I
the
just,
trauma of losing your sister in that violent way, already depleted, already struggling. So your nervous system
yes,
was already
yes,
shot and yeah. So the dissociation came from, this is too much. It's not possible without doing some real damage to stay with this
right,
pain fully in my body.
right. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to connect with Leah Persons, the mother of Retea Persons. And I remember she took our Girl on Fire training, and the Girl on Fire was created um, out of the devastation of losing Retea. I was like, what can we do? This is awful. So I created Girl on Fire. And when Leah spoke about Retea's journey, what stayed with me was she said, people always say that God only gives you what you can handle. She said that wasn't true for Retea. And I just kept coming back to that. Like, this is too much for my nervous system, for my psyche. You know, we were three within 3 years, my brother and my sister and I, like, we were so close. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just too much. So, yeah. So I'm so grateful that I was forced, you know, to trust the support around me, and then I was able to access the tools. And I'm feeling compelled now
Absolutely.
to just shift, if I can,
I
to
was just gonna ask you, tell me
Lisa.
about Lisa.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Lisa and I, we shared a room for 17 years. Like, I used to crawl in bed with her almost every night, and she was the talker, I was the listener, and she would tell me a story, and I would fall asleep to the sound of her voice. And we were so close growing up, codependently so. And then in our 20s, we kind of went our separate ways to individuate and find ourselves. And sibling relationships are not easy. And so there were times of conflict, and I just love this phrase,
Wow.
undelivered communication. As women, we were not given permission to sit down and argue. We were just taught to, be kind of passive aggressive and not face
Yeah,
things head
absolutely.
on. Does that make sense? So there was so much undelivered communication between us. Just, there were things that happened that dissolved our trust, and yet the love was still there. And she was my best friend growing up. And as I have been praying to her and connecting with her, and we had a beautiful coming together before the end of her life, where it was just like old times, where we were funny and playful and trusting again with each other. And as I have connected with Lisa in the past few years, most recently, the message that I got from her, and she visits me a lot in my dreams, the message that she has been giving me is for me to learn
Wow.
to trust women. And I share that because I don't think we're taught to trust women in this culture. We're taught to compete. We're taught to compare. We're taught to shut each other down, to stifle each other's light. We're not taught to trust each other. We're not taught to build each
Yeah, I
other
think that
up.
we
And
the base of trusting our own feminine power and strength within ourselves is not there, because there's just millennia behind us of the feminine is dangerous. The feminine is too powerful. The feminist is irrational.
that's
Beginning
that's right. I don't know if you can
beautiful
see that.
friendships. I love that.
Yes. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So I'll share that with you and I'll even post it. But yesterday, as I dropped Sophia off in Wolfville so she could write her final exam, I was walking down Main Street and I was thinking about you because I have a
Okay.
story to share about you and about. And I saw this massive mural beside the Just Us cafe and theater. And it just jumped out at me. And I just felt so excited that I do think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And that, I think, is Lisa's wish for us, for the two of us, but also for all women, is to stop fighting and competing and join in friendship together and
I love
start
that so
trusting
much.
one another.
Um, I am delighted to hear that, and my heart is just full of love and excitement and joy and fun just thinking about this new opening
Good.
in our connection. Thank you deeply for that. Thank you deeply for that.
Okay.
I say yes. Will you marry me? Yes.
Well,
Yes. But I just came out of my 5-day embodied leadership and happy session program, and I had that moment on Sunday when there was so much processing and so much reclaiming of that feminine power and that feminine connection, and it was all women. There was 34 women, and I thought, wow, I can see why in history people were scared when women gathered. Because when we love each other, when we up support each other and uphold each other, and we shine the light on each other, things change really fast. The ground change, the reality shifts, and we become the more that we're meant to be, and that's the power of women gathering and women loving each other. So I'm glad that you brought that because it's definitely in my awareness right now. I don't think we know what's accessible. There's still so much that's accessible when it comes to magic and strength and creativity when women come together.
uh, it was
Yeah.
34 women that gathered.
And
That's
by
so
Sunday, the
powerful.
willingness and the capacity and the ability to claim and say yes to all of them was just perfect. I feel like if someone was looking from above, from the top of the universe, they would have seen a massive, beautiful light explosion and the earth changing.
And freedom of that experience right
Yeah.
before we come together. And that I would share that message from my sister,
Yeah.
who's at the
Yeah,
top of
she
the
is.
universe.
And she sees it all. And yeah.
It's wonderful. Okay. Can I share my, um, with great humility, and I'm not going to say shame, with great humility and humor, I will share the backstory on how
Okay.
I came to be
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
trusting you. May I? Okay. So I uh, I worked really hard to create the businesses that we have. And at one point, we had 8 yoga studios around Nova Scotia, around Atlantic Canada. And I was raising 2 kids, and And it just wasn't an easy role for me because I was like, I wasn't like, I was a franchisor and a leader of all of these studios. And I just didn't love the role because it put me on a pedestal and it disconnected me from people. And when you put yourself out there as a leader, people don't love it.
No, some people don't, that's for
They
sure.
don't tend to love it. And so I was conflicted in this role and yet so insecure that I felt compelled to like be more and do more and compete. And I always wanted to be an author. I've been writing a memoir for 25 years and just didn't have it just wasn't my time. And so, but I'm a writer. I write all the time. I've written 10 manuals, but that wasn't enough for me. And so along comes this Anne Berube woman who, who, puts herself on the same friggin' stage as Dr. Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra. I was just so pissed. You know, here I was studying with Deepak Chopra in California, doing Ayurvedic studies and meditation work. And, I have Wayne Dyer's books, a stack of them right here in my office. And here's this woman who walks up on stage, arm in arm with Wayne Dyer. Like, who
Love
does
that.
she think she is?
I love it so much. Yeah.
I was so pissed and resentful. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm
Are you
enjoying this so
okay
much.
with me sharing
Yeah.
this? Okay. So, for years, I othered you and I judged you and I criticized you and I quote unquote
Oh, I'm sorry that happened.
even hated
That
you.
must not have felt good. No.
No, but it wasn't that I hated you. I hated myself. I hated
Penny.
my own insecurity, right? That you being so amazing reflected or shone a light on my shameful not enoughness, right? And this went on for, God damn it, like 2 years. And I'm so sorry.
Yeah. You don't have to be sorry, but I
But
could
I'm
feel
thankful
that
you didn't
I
know.
know that feeling. I have done that too, and it's such a shitty feeling. That's why I'm like, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry that happened
right?
because yep,
We've all done
exactly.
it. We've all
And it
felt
is
it.
that what is it that, I can't be there or do that after all that I've done? And I can
Yes,
relate to that. Absolutely.
yes, yes. And I share this because in that state of insecurity and not enoughness, I couldn't hold space for your greatness. I couldn't be your friend. And that's such a loss for me, right? And once I was able to identify And here's the moment. It was probably, I don't know how many years ago. Time
Yep.
doesn't make sense anymore. But it was years ago.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. It was COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was COVID. And I had just lost my best friend, Lisa, my sister. And I was still teaching, and I was in Moncton. And we always liked to go to chapters. And I was wandering through, of course, the self-help section, and that damn woman, Anne Berube,
Here she is again.
she was on that shelf. And I just walked by and I was like, oh, fuck you. Like, really? There she is again. And then I stopped and I walked back and I pulled your book off this shelf and I looked at it and I felt you differently. I saw you differently because I somehow saw myself differently. And I think that the massacre had just cracked me open and made me more vulnerable and maybe more wiser,
Wiser, more
wiser,
wise. Yeah.
more
Wow.
wise. Um, and I held your book to my heart. And then I bought your book. And then I realized this has nothing to do with you. This is about me, my own worthiness journey. And so it was like a blind spot. And that was such a beautiful discovery because I was able to then work on me and building myself, loving myself enough to love you. And here we are.
Here
I
we
think it's the
are.
beginning of a
Oh my
beautiful
goodness,
friendship.
Jenny.
I had to love myself enough to let you shine and be the incredible Amber Rube that you are, with or without my scrutiny. Like, God, I love you for shining, even though people, um, don't agree or are confronted by their own unworthiness. I just really bow to you for continuing to shine. And in so doing, you've taught me so many things. And you were able to help me see where I needed growth and healing. And
It
I just
really
think it's so
is,
precious
truly.
that we're
I
here
had no
today.
idea. And
Um,
I had no idea. So all
right?
listeners, this is new to me, which is like incredible, like incredible. And I'm really happy that I was the invitation for you to love yourself more. I'm trying to say it with humor. Like like you started the story by saying that when you put yourself out there publicly, you do have people who don't like it. And so I know you know that feeling also is that it makes people uncomfortable when you do shine your light the way you want to shine your light. And that doesn't mean that everybody should like you and like what you do. But I love this. This is huge. Like I think people will really resonate with this because I think we all do it. We all go through that and just recognizing the invitation. Like I feel that with other authors, within or without my publishing, how's like that are more successful. But like, well, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, why, you know, and then this invitation to go like, shit, that's I'm doing my own thing. Like this is not about them. This is about me. And if I can really tap into that, I emerge with more love.
And how do you continue to not even continue? Like, how did you find the strength to like step on that stage with Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra? Like, what was that in you? Did you have like
No.
parents who gave you
Oh, no, no. Okay,
permission?
so this
Like,
might be too much
what
information
was
for
that?
the podcast, but the first time I introduced Deepak, which was the very first time I was doing a big international event like that, um, I needed a big pad because I couldn't stop peeing. Okay. Okay. So no one knew, right? But 2 minutes before it's my time, I'm in the bathroom telling my friend Rachel, I don't think I can go on stage. I can't stop peeing. I'm so afraid. Well, thanks, Jenny.
And you rocked it. You rocked it. I was in the audience, like,
So someone has
oh
to
my God, this
introduce the
woman.
speaker. I'm the producer. If
Yes.
someone else introduces the speaker,
Yes.
how would that be meaningful to anyone? Right? Like I'm the one who put the money up.
Yeah.
I'm the one who decided to bring him. I'm the one who bought his flight. I'm the one who grabbed him at the airport and took him to the, like, this is a business thing. Like, this is my new business. So, and I have to say, I did not have parents who did anything that courageous and encouraged me. In all honesty, it's Paul, my husband, who inspired me to take risks because at 22, when I met him, he had his own restaurant and he did not live his life like other people I knew. He was an artist in the medium of life. He just did what he felt he wanted to do and he was creative and he took chances. And I grew up with blue collar parents and a mom my dad, and then my mom stayed at home. So I'm looking at Paul Go and I'm like, fuck, you're brave. Like you could lose everything on this venture. And so watching him be an entrepreneur, I learned how to take risks. And I remember when I did bring Deepak, even Paul was like, yeesh, that's a little risky. Like, you don't know if this is going to work. And I was like, well, I'm following in your footstep. I'm taking, I'm in being inspired by you. And so there was
And it worked.
1,200
There was like
people there.
500 people there.
Yeah, that was the first one. Right?
1,200.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder I hated
And
you.
I remember thinking like, oh, this is fun. It's easy for me. And it's a little business. I was still writing my PhD thesis. Like I was still a student. So I never, had a business before. But what I want to say too is that Paul would say, like, if you can speak before someone who they came here to see that person, if you can speak before that person and you're standing on that stage and they really just want to see the headliner, you'll be able to speak in front of any crowd. So this was booth camp, like for
Yes.
learning how to speak in front of crowds, Jenny, because I knew they didn't want to hear from me. They didn't know who I was. And and
I'm
so
sweating just
when
hearing
I
about this.
introduced Wayne in Montreal, Paul had said, don't just introduce him, share your work. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. So I worked with Nancy Regan to
Yes.
help me like own that
Yes.
8 minute in front of people who don't want to see me. And then after that, it's history. Like I can be in front of, doesn't matter if you want to see me or not, I can stand there. But it was hard, Jenny. It was hard.
Ah, this is all
With the
about
fire.
trusting ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
trusting our worth,
Mm.
trusting our worth. And that's why I didn't like you, because I didn't trust my own worth. And now that I do, right, the channels are so open. I have so much love for you, and I can feel the love coming from you to me. And that, I think, is the reward and the urgency for women to do this work, to love themselves, so that we can, instead of being that bitch in the audience hating on you,
So funny. I love
right?
it.
I could sit there, and from now on, that's my role. Like, when I left Chapters with your book, I realized, oh my God, I have been stifling women's light, and no more. I came to your book
Yeah,
signing at the Spatz Theater,
I
but
remember.
I think
Yeah.
you had COVID and it was canceled. I like followed you around, you and Nancy Regan. I supported you in everything. Like, whenever you post, I'm sharing it, I'm supporting. And I do that with all women now. But
Wow.
I had to cross that bridge within myself. And Lisa has helped to make that possible. And so I think if there is one message that comes out of this podcast, it's that like, women out there everywhere, do the work to love yourself, because you're worth it, and the world needs you to love yourself so that you can
Absolutely.
love
It's the
other women.
only, it's really our only
Yeah.
job is to deepen that love for ourselves. So much so that it just radiates. And
Yeah.
it's this gaze towards ourselves and inside, as opposed to reaching and looking for it outside and also noticing what's missing outside. It's like, well, it's
That gaze, finding the gaze
mm,
inside.
mhm,
That's how
mhm.
you did it.
Yeah, I mean, it for me, it started after the car accident in 2020, in 2001. Like it, for me, that's when the self-love journey began, because there was no there was no self-love. There was self, like, um putting on a pedestal when I did great, and then there was self-hating when I didn't. So there wasn't that actual authentic
Yes.
unconditional love for myself. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know that. So in
Uh,
2001,
so what?
I was in a car accident where my on the impact, so a half-ton truck hit our car, and on the impact, my liver got lacerated in half, and my lungs collapsed, and I had I almost died, and I had a near-death experience in that moment, where I saw my life, the one that I came to live, not the one that I was living. But the depth of the love that I felt in my heart in this vision was, I couldn't call it love back then because I didn't know it as love. Love for me growing up was transactional. Um, right? It was an interaction. It was
Right.
almost like an agreement. Like, I do this for you, then you give me attention. That's love. You do this for me. So it was, I didn't know what love was. And so the feeling that night, in as my body was shocked, and that's my story of betrayal from life. Like, how dare you scare me like that? How dare you almost take my life, you know? But the feeling of love was so powerful in my chest that when I woke up the next day in the hospital, I said, I don't have language for this yet, but um, I I have to find a way to love myself as much as I felt it last night. So the journey began.
Oh,
Yeah. And then it's not, it's
what a
until 5
gift.
years later when I was in a women in leadership program that I learned that my body was the gateway to actually receiving deep, deep love from myself, that I couldn't do it with my intellect. And so
Right.
that day in the program, I came home to myself in a deep wave of grief and emotion and surrender. And then after that, I continued studying it because I wanted to share it with everyone. It completely changed my life to understand how my body can be used to remember my divinity and how loved I am.
Wow. So your self-love journey inextricably
The body
includes
is
your body.
the gateway. There's no other way. I can't know love with my head. I can understand it. I can make a story about it,
Yes.
but I can't know it. Yeah,
There's so many
right
women,
here.
right? We are so conditioned to hate our bodies. I'm a
Mm.
recovered anorexic. Yeah, I know physical, I know body hatred. And it's interesting that with this medication, you know, I'm taking this medication so that I can show up in these spaces and be with you. I'm taking this medication so that I can show up for my girls and parent the way I want to parent. And the one
Oh,
side effect is weight gain. As
right.
a former anorexic, right? It's been so wonderful to just like, yeah, I've got some visceral fat. Like, it's so
Yeah.
cool. I've never been
Mm.
like heavy
Mm.
before, soft before. And yeah, that's what I'm called to do right now, is to love my body unconditionally and give thanks for
Mm.
this medication that's helping me to show up. Really cool. So, yeah, embodiment. Our culture makes
Mhm.
embodiment
Absolutely. It's
impossible.
yeah.
So we we need
Well,
your
to loop
teachings.
back around to the
Yeah.
beginning of our conversation, you grounding yourself helped, you know, everyone listening and me ground ourselves. And I knew you were in your body. And I knew that you were speaking from that place of knowing. And I knew you weren't in your intellect. And to me, like those are the really the only conversations, I want to have. I felt the deliciousness like from the moment you started to speak. So um we're right there together in that ground within ourselves. And everything is possible.
And I just want to share that it's um it's it's
Mhm.
really awful sometimes, some days.
Yep.
Painful being embodied. And it is like a full-time job for me because my nervous system is traumatized, as was yours. And I think all of our nervous systems
Yeah.
have been traumatized. Yesterday and today, as I honor this day of the 5-year anniversary mark of the massacre, on my phone and in the news, I'm seeing kids flee schools because of active shooters in the States.
Mhm.
Like, it is hard to stay embodied and every morning I lie in bed consciously relaxing my body, coming home every morning. I stand in front of my red light machine and I'm a red light dealer because it's just amazing. And I stand naked in my body and fill myself with light and anchor my breath in my belly because there's just nowhere else to live. And some days it feels so hard, but I don't want to do this any other way. And I think it's those pivotal moments in our lives when our nervous systems are shattered and our hearts are cracked open that I think we're given glimpses into something greater. And not everyone's living this
No,
living such an
it's hard.
embodied
We weren't
life
taught
because it's
how.
hard.
We weren't taught how to do it and still be sensitive and open and be able to have boundaries to protect us. We weren't taught how to access more
Yeah,
processing space with our breath and outside of ourselves, like through and out. Like we weren't, this was not taught in school. How can I be embodied with the pureness of my heart and my capacity to know and feel in a world that's completely bonkers right now? And so it is it's my privilege
yes,
to be able to hold space for people to remember that, because not only when we are like, you're an example, like your capacity to tap into your wisdom is because of your courage to be embodied. You know, the fact that every word lands with like
right?
such perfection is because you're so brave, and you take the time and you do the work because it's meaningful to you. It's meaningful to you to live a life that is real.
Well, and like you said, it's more than
Yeah.
intellectual. It's
Yeah.
embodied wisdom. Yeah. And yeah, it's not taught in schools, but
That is
there is
amazing.
Yoga 11.
Yes, that is there. And so it is a
Yeah.
beacon, you know, for kids to
Yeah.
remember, because they know this intuitively. There's
Yeah.
just not a
And
lot of role modeling around.
they did. And one of our clients said last week she's going through a difficult separation, and she was like, "Why don't why is our education system so academic when there's so much wisdom
Yeah,
here in the body?" And yeah, it's an
absolutely.
important question.
To me, it's the teacher I've been waiting for. It's the mother I've been waiting for. It's the father I've been waiting for. It's the it's all this external stuff I was looking for, finding it through this beautiful
Right.
instrument that my soul chose for this human adventure. It's exciting. Mm.
It's just so
Jenny,
beautiful.
anything else before we close our beautiful conversation today?
I just am laughing because we live in the same city. We're doing very similar work. And yet it's taken this long to kind of uh,
Yeah,
connect in this way. And I'm grateful for the the wise part of myself that made me stop and pick up your book and helped me to heal my own brokenness so that I could love myself and love you and love all women and men and just love myself enough to hold space for other people's greatness. That's been a long journey. And I see so much combativeness and conflict in my girls and their friends. And it's so sad. Like, there's just so many shattered friendships. And I just want to say to young women out there that this sisterhood is like nothing else. And we need each other if we are going to sit at the important tables in the world. We need each other.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So mend those friendships and let's do this together, which we're doing together. It's so miraculous and beautiful. And I know that Lisa is with us and loving us and is so grateful that we're using our voices in this way. So, Anne, thank you for having this platform and showing up even when people are confronted by your light.
For saying all that. This has been such a gift for me, and I'm just so excited about the beginning of this new friendship, and I'm grateful to Lisa, and I'm grateful to, you know, your own journey and deepening of your own self, because I gain a friend from it, and I'm really, really happy about that. And thank you for your time today. It meant a lot that you said yes. I know that it's a complex day and it's a beautiful day. And so to have been able to share in embodied space with you today, wow, just, yeah, deep gratitude for you and the work that you do.
It was magical. And I feel more healed.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah. Thank you, friend.
On the street, they say that you don't care about me anymore, but you know it's in the way they walk, in the way they talk. I don't believe a thing, I don't believe a thing they say. You know I love you anyway, anytime, any place. You mean the world to me, you mean everything to me. That's why I say